When it comes to first-person shooters, I tend to really enjoy many of them. I enjoy the focused experiences that you get from something like in the Call of Duty campaigns with exciting set pieces, along with shooters that focus on atmosphere, exploration, and story like Wolfenstein: The New Order. And then there are the first-person shooters that take something that was enjoyed from the past, whether it be the level design or even a focus on never taking the player out of the action like in the recent Doom entries. In the indie market, many developers have been trying to tap into the nostalgic style of retro shooters that AAA developers do not seem to be interested in. These shooters focus on trying to provide both a retro look and feel to their game. Good examples of these are with Ion Fury and Dusk. This is a really interesting market to tap into, with it being largely ignored by the big developers, but the players very much appreciate the results from these smaller developers. There's something enjoyable with these games that look older but play very well. There's a focus on exploration with providing chaotic action. The movement speed is usually fast, and there's plenty of hidden secrets to find along the way. Like I said, I love many modern shooters. They provide these great experiences with high production values, but the indie market has something here with these games filling a hole that is left by the AAA market. These new yet retro shooters are very much appreciated. And with that, I want to talk about another one that fits right in with this group. Project Warlock is highly influenced from the original Wolfenstein and other retro shooters, along with providing some modern progression systems. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my review for Project Warlock. Project Warlock is a first-person shooter that provides chaotic action with some exploration through its many secrets that you can find. The game is separated into short, action-packed levels. You are given a decently sized area to explore and then find the exit. While in the levels, you usually need to hit a set amount of switches or find the correct keys to open up the level. Along the way, you can find secrets that are behind walls that can be destroyed or used as a door. These will give you additional supplies and upgrades. What is appreciated is how the game will let you know how many secrets are in the level that you're on. This way that you will know if you need to backtrack to find something that you missed before you proceed. Finding the secrets can be really satisfying, especially when it involves finding a new weapon that you can now use. When you are not exploring, you will be enjoying the satisfying shooting. Project Warlock does a good job of providing you with a nice selection of guns, along with continually providing new guns throughout the entire campaign. You could use handguns, SMGs, shotguns, a chain gun, grenade launchers, rocket launchers, a laser gun, a flamethrower, and more. The first few levels are rather slow and not the best representation of the entire game. It takes a little bit before you get a gun, and I think the game hits a nice stride once you get the pump action shotgun. The weapons feel great to fire, with them having some nice impact on your enemies. Depending on the weapon, enemy body parts will explode and cover the entire screen. The shotguns and the chain gun became my go-to weapons for most of the campaign. You do get some other options as well. You have a magic bar and you can cast different spells to help you out. You can cast spells like freezing enemies so that you can give yourself some breathing room, or you can cast a shield on yourself. I didn't really use the spells that much outside of the shield spell. Between the guns and the spells, there's enough variety to add some personalization to how you want to tackle the combat encounters. As you can see, Project Warlock uses a more retro design to its levels and shooting, but there is also a nice mix of modern progression systems being at play here. As you defeat enemies, find gold and secrets, you will gain experience points and level up. You will find additional upgrades and perk points as well. When you are back in the workshop, you can allocate your different stat points. You can improve strength, life, spirit, and capacity. Strength is related to your melee attacks. Life gives you more hit points, spirit gives you more magic, and capacity gives you more ammo that you can hold. On top of this, you can select different perks that give you additional upgrades. Some will increase your magic and health by a substantial amount, and others will give you an additional stat point upon leveling up, and some can even cause enemies to drop magic power when they die. How you level up is not set by the game. It all comes down to player choice and what you want to put those points into. This is further seen with the weapon upgrades. Each weapon has one of two upgrades that you can obtain. This will change the weapon for the entire game. For example, the SMGs can be upgraded into carrying 2 at a time, or turning that SMG into a nail gun, which its shots then can ricochet off of walls. This type of stuff increases the replay value, so you can see how to better upgrade your character. Another thing to note is how the game has a few different difficulty options. On the easiest setting, you will not need to worry about lives to continue if you die, but on normal and hard, this is something you need to consider. And then there's a hardcore mode if you only want to go through the game with 1 life. What I do like about the life system is how you can earn more while finding them in levels or from secrets. You can also use a life to go back to your workshop early and upgrade a bit. It all comes down to player choice and how you want to use your lives. Do you want to save them for situations where you might die and it might be a harder combat encounter and you would benefit from starting it over? Or do you want to go back and use some of your experience points now to upgrade some of your stats? Project Warlock is a lot of fun. Project Warlock is a really good game, but there are some flaws that I noticed while I was playing. I had an instance where I killed an enemy, but they just would not disappear. I also had a weird situation with the bosses at the end of episodes 3 and 4. Episode 3 features a really tough boss fight, and this is a big difficulty spike even on the normal difficulty. After a few tries, you figure out the best way to defeat him, but it can cause some frustration. What is really odd is that I was expecting episode 4 to have a boss at the same level or harder than the prior one, but episode 4's boss fight was pretty much ended like a cakewalk. I think episode 4's boss should be reworked to make the fight more challenging and satisfying to fight. The last episode of the game has you in hell and there's a red filter for most of the section. It can be rather ugly to look at and not as visually inviting as the rest of the game. Lastly, there's some instant death parts in the game. If you fall into the fire, you will die. Considering that the game has you moving at high speeds and focused on gunfights, you might find yourself accidentally falling in, and then needing to start the whole level over again. And lastly, I had some suggestions for either future updates or a potential sequel. I would really love to see a horde mode of some kind added to this game. There's a wide variety of enemies that you fight in the campaign, along with different locations to fight in. The mode could have you start out and fight increasingly stronger waves of enemies. While during the waves you can earn upgrades and experience points and then spend them between waves. For an additional bonus, I would love to see the mode have 2-player co-op. Another idea for a game mode could be a random level mode. You can start the campaign on a random level, and each level following this can be any of the different levels in the game. Then every 10 levels you can fight one of the boss fights. Essentially it is using the same content found within the main game, but giving it to you in a random order. These are just ideas to add to the overall enjoyable experience. Lastly, the soundtrack is pretty good with some tracks that stay with you. Here are a few tracks from the game. Overall, Project Warlock is a solid indie shooter. It brings us back to an older time with modern progression systems. It is a nice mix of old and new. The quick levels make it perfect for a quick play session, and the progression really hooks you. The quick levels and the lack of needing to be precise with your aiming makes this a great option for Switch owners that want a good shooter. I did encounter a few issues and frustrations along the way, but overall I enjoyed my experience with it. The soundtrack is solid, and this is a very fun game. Thank you very much for watching.